Now, when we talk about gaming for the LG G4 to the right versus the LG C1 to the left, the LG C1 pulls ahead by a pretty decent margin for a couple of different reasons. Biggest reason is freedom. So again, we can't access our contrast through normal means, but you can change contrast. Again, not really, but it kind of. And then we have the black level at 50. You can change that, but they gray it out here, making it a little bit more annoying for people to find. You don't have any automatic dynamic contrast. That's just gone. Same for peak brightness, which is the biggest thing LG has to tout around this year, which is, I don't even know why they would do that. That's very stupid. And outside of that, that's basically it. Now, if you want to get around that, your only other option is to go through the game bar menu, okay? And when you're in the game bar menu, also, the game bar menu on the C1 is a dark purple. The game bar menu on the G4 is a light violet. So that's just something to think about as well. Just nuance differences, I guess. Now, when we go into the optimizer, the game optimizer, you click on that and it'll pull up this whole like menu. That's where you can go in the game picture section or the game optimizer section, and you go darkroom on to make it dimmer if you want to. Don't know why you'd want to do that. You can turn on the 144 hertz booster. You can turn on ALLM and all that other stuff. You can change the color of menu to orange or to green or whatever you want, right? I'll just change it to orange because why not? And then you can go into picture. Now, under picture is where you do gain access to the black and white stabilizer. Wonderful, fantastic, great. Okay, cool. But you do get the contrast, the game contrast, which you can set to 100, which I did, but as you see, it doesn't really do much to change the brightness. Now, at default, it's set to 85. You can set it to 85, but it'll just make things dimmer the dimmer you go. I mean, it's a really dim picture even when you go up to 100. It does not much of anything for the picture. Game black level, you can change that. It will, again, change the black levels of the game, so you do have the option to do that. Game sharpness and game color depth. But that's really, honest to goodness, it. Outside of that, there's not really a whole lot that you can do outside of going back to all settings. Yeah, it's limited. So when you're playing your games, it's just not going to be able to compete. I'll go a step further. It's so not able to compete, you are going to get beaten by every single TV, more or less, that doesn't lock out settings or turn off peak brightness by default, especially on an OLED that desperately needs it. So in game mode, the left is going to be the LG C1, the right is going to be the LG G4. The LG G4 just looks flat. There is no other real way to say that. The LG G4 looks flat. It has worse motion. As you can see, there's a lot of more jitters than what we have on the LG C1, which I actually did not expect. I did think that they were going to pull ahead a lot better in that regard. The LG G4 is brighter, but it's not really a benefit because you lose key contrast like you're supposed to have, and color isn't as good. As we kind of move in on detail is better on the LG C1. It's basically like the C1 is beating the G4 for gaming, which is kind of mind-blowing and boggling at the same time. Looking at this plant, I think you can see how three-dimensional it is, followed by the window in the back and all the details. Where this just looks like a flat two-dimensional image, the LG C1 has more of a three-dimensionality to it. That is like really stupid. Because again, you're talking about the G4 is supposed to be a flagship model. Let's go over to the Fire and see if we can't see some differences here. Don't know if they'll let us sit, but we really don't need to. So we can look at the Fire and you can kind of see more of what I'm saying. The LG C1 is isolating each and every individual flame in comparison to what we have on the LG G4. This should not be happening, but it is. So let's fire up a different game and then see if we can see some other differences. So here we are in Hellblade 2, everyone's favorite walking simulator. As you can clearly see, the C1 is decimating the LG G4. Like, it's not even close. You see the depth, you see the dimensionality. And this is where, again, if you're a gamer, the LG C1 is the winner. I can't make this stuff up. I mean, like, overall the G4 wins, but when we talk about gaming, no fucking way. Like, literally no fucking way. It just is not happening for the damn thing. And again, looking at, like, the details, it's just amazing how bad the details are on the G4. It's brighter, yeah, sure, but look at the landscape. Come on, man. Like it's pretty stupid. I won't even lie. I'm just like looking at this, and I'm just like, they want you to pay $24.99, and they can't even produce half of what we're getting on the LG C1. Like, look at the C1 just slaughtering it with the details, the water. Look at the contrast. Look at the rocks. This is how I love contrast tests that are real scenes like this, where you can just look down at water and look at rocks. Yeah, it looks way better on the C1. And then again, we can just go over and just look at more. We can just see, zoom in, look at the contrast of the little spire thing or whatever it is. This freaking little weird wooden thing that kind of looks like a seraphim angel, like, I have no idea. But it just looks very strange. Looking at it, like, look at that. Look at the amount of contrast. You almost see every little branch on the LG C1 versus the LG G4 to the right. Look at the red coming out of the hole here. It just looks so much better. Again, wait for it. It's going to open up eventually. Come on, open up. And I guess not. You got the idea. You see what it looks like. It looks really insane how much more color we have on the C1. Like, look at these rocks over here. Like, that's just wild. It's just wild. I mean, look at the color. Look at, this is like, it's ridiculous. And you're paying like the most astronomical price, by the way, for the LG G4. Because, you know, every YouTuber told you how much better it was for gaming in every way than every other TV and blah, blah, blah. Again, it's ridiculous. So, again, we're going to open up our game bar, and you can kind of see, like, I'm going to go down into the settings menu for both of these. And I'm going to go to Game Optimizer, and you can see some of the settings, again, to ascertain that, again, there is not much happening here, okay? By the way, I'm also limiting the brightness on the LG C1 by using OLED Motion Pro, because OLED Motion Pro doesn't flicker, which, by the way, let's just compare that one thing alone if we're talking about freedom, okay? OLED Motion is what it's called, not OLED Motion Pro, which is trash. I mean, really, you can turn it off or on. It won't make a difference, right? Because it's a flickery mess and it looks like crap, and the screen just dims down dramatically if you do it that way. So you can't use it. It's pointless. Also, they don't give you options like the C1. Look at all these options the C1 has versus the brand new G4 for more money. Like, you only have on or off. How freaking pathetic is that when you have low, medium, high, and auto? You can't make this stuff up. You just had more options, and the more time passes, I'm looking at it like all we're really getting is like sold on features, but not actual things that change picture quality. I'll say it again. We're just getting sold on features and not things that change picture quality, which sucks. But back to the picture aspect and the settings, like I told you. Again, I'm not doing anything to make the LG G4 look terrible. 55 color, 10 on sharpness, 50 on black level. I even pumped up the contrast from the default 85 to 100, and the white stabilizer and black stabilizer are at 10. Nothing's done to make it look worse. It just looks like shit. And I think that's going to be a reoccurring theme here when you start gaming on this thing. I mean, like, look at those rocks, man. Like, the fuck is that shit, my guy? Like, I don't know. Maybe it's out there for somebody. Somebody's going to look at this and go, oh man, I really like how washed out these colors are. It really does it for me. But like, okay, if you've ever seen like clay rock, it generally has a look like the LG C1 and not a look like you'd see on the LG G4. Like, are you noticing this? Because I'm definitely noticing just how bad, by comparison, it is. And again, this is just the gaming aspect, which is actually kind of blowing my mind. But yeah, you've seen it here. So if nobody's going to be honest and show you this, I will. Because again, you're paying $24.99 for a TV. You'd think they'd be like up front and tell you, hey guys, you're playing the walking simulator Hellblade 2 and you're looking over the water. The water on the G4 is going to be freaking dead.